Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we're going to be talking about Crusade versus Might for Retribution Paladins. One thing I've actually enjoyed this beta cycle is having some really good suggestions from comments and stuff of things to test and try out. And doing those, some of them more pertinent than others, and then even making a video about it like this one. So I've had many comments saying, you got to try Crusade. You got to try Crusade. I always see that you're talented Might. You got to try Crusade. I was always just mostly talented Might just because kind of just carrying over from Dragonflight, right? But a lot of, probably the best point that was simply made in the comment was, you get, with Radiant Glory, it's not the longer cooldown. So you just get Might. Or so you just get Crusade. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I have some interesting results from it. I tried a lot of different combinations here. So I tried just messing around with talent points in general, trying Templar, trying Herald of the Sun, both with Might, with Crusade, and getting similar results actually, no matter which combination of talents I used, hero talents I used, etc. And I would say that as of right now on the beta, that Crusade appears to be the better choice. In single target situations, because that's all I can really test effectively. But I would not be surprised if this was also the case for like a Mythic Plus experience as well. That would not surprise me if that would maintain itself. And there's a few reasons why. One being just probably the biggest reason why is I think right now in the beta, your stats are going to be a little bit weird, probably, at least mine are. And so I have pretty high mastery, I have pretty high crit, almost no versatility, and I have pretty low haste. So Crusade notably, increases your haste. So while Crusade is better right now on the beta for me, if I would be curious if my haste was closer to 30%, for example, would that gap be smaller? Would it be more equal to Might? It would certainly be a lot closer to Might if the stats were a little bit more equalized. It's just about how much closer would it be. And so I think what this suggests, at least to me, right, is that in season one of The War Within, it's very likely that our haste is going to be a little bit low, right? Especially at the beginning of the season, during progression of gear, progression of raid, etc. Our haste is probably going to be a little bit low. So it would not surprise me at all if Crusade ends up being, they could change tuning and stuff as well, by the way. But it would not surprise me if Crusade ends up being, what I say in my guide for Season 1 is going to be the best choice for damage. This would not surprise me at all based on what I'm testing, because, again, it's just better in every scenario. Also, something that makes it quite good, actually, is if we open up the talents, with Zealot's Fervor and Crusader Strike auto attack, right? This is just, you're hitting even faster during Crusade, right? And this is giving you even more of your Art of War procs, and even more Holy Power. Blade of Justice is doing a ton of damage because of tier set bonus. And so this is just a very, very powerful combination of things. Now, things, having things be changed or change the way they work, this could influence, if this ends up continuing on. There's no way I could say for sure right now that this will be the case, but I can say as of now, I would be comfortable saying that Crusade is the superior choice as of now. I do think it's highly because of gear, and I think it could change throughout the course of the expansion, and I think it could even change back later on the expansion as stats change, only because, once again, it is still close enough. Like, I'm talking like a 10% difference ish on average between when I tried. Like I said, I tried probably, I don't know, 10 different combinations of things, and probably about 10% was the difference. Crusade was 10% better consistently across all of those iterations. And so when it's that low, it's like, okay, yeah, well, maybe if my crit was at like 20 and my haste was at 30, and then I was getting more benefit from the crit from Might and less benefit from the haste from Crusade, this could shape things. But it also allows you to, what's exciting about this to me, right? Because I don't care what some people are a fan of Crusade or they're a fan of Might. I think there's more actual fans of Crusade than Might, because Might's kind of a new thing. But you might be like, you might really like one, or like the play style of one, or like the way one feels better than the other. For me, that's not really the case. I don't really care. To be completely straightforward, I just play whatever one's going to do the most damage. That's pretty much my only deciding factor at the end of the day. There's been very rare cases where that's not the case, because I thought the playstyle was just too atrocious for certain things. But 99% of the time, I'm just going to play whatever does the most damage. So what's interesting is, depending on how your stats are throughout the expansion, if they can keep the tuning relatively close, it could be a difference of playing, Crusade one patch, Might the other patch, Crusade another patch, just based on what the stats are, what the gear, what the stat weights are on the gear in the raid. For example, if you're a raider, obviously if you play mostly Mythic Plus, you might be trying to target items that have all the stats that you want. And then, of course, then again, if you really want a lot of haste, then all of a sudden Crusade might not be as good as you, so you're just playing Might. And so there can be a lot of like things like that, and I love that. I love being able to choose different things depending on the content that I'm doing. It's even cool if like one was better for single target, one was better for AoE. I think that can be an interesting choice too. Even though it's a very, very basic choice, I still think that can be an interesting thing to have baked in. And I think we're set up to possibly have that. Now, I will say this is only the case right now because of Radiant Glory, right? Radiant Glory turns this into a 30-second cooldown instead of 2 minutes, right? So Crusade's a 2-minute cooldown, Might is a 1-minute cooldown. So having the Great Equalizer be Radiant Glory in this also plays a part in it. So when our tier set bonus doesn't directly work with Radiant Glory in Season 2, maybe we don't play Radiant Glory, which a lot of people don't want to play Radiant Glory. So maybe without playing Radiant Glory, then that also switches it back to Might, for example, right? So maybe in Season 1, right, the play might be Radiant Glory plus Crusade. Very good combination. But in Season 2, our tier set changes, and we don't play Radiant Glory, which a lot of people will be happy about. Some people will be sad about it as well. But based on some of the comments and reactions I've seen, a good amount of people will be happy about that. And then we'll play Might again, like we kind of do in Dragonflight. And I think that's cool too. I like switching between seasons. I like switching between content. I like having different things, especially we can have a decent amount of loadouts now saved into our talent trees here. And so like I like having a handful of things. Like I always traditionally had at least 3, but it's cool to have like 5 or 6 or something like that. I would never personally want to have like 50 different things I did for every different type of possible content. This is my World Quest, build or whatever. But I like having a handful of different things. And so this is a really cool thing that ends up being the case. I will say, as I said at the start of the video, I really enjoyed during this beta cycle having some people say, hey, you should try this, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then it actually ends up being cool, or ends up being stronger as they suggested. Because I'm not gonna lie, and this is no shade on anybody, but a lot of times I get suggestions and they're just not true, or they're bad, or whatever. But that has not really been the case in this beta cycle. It's been a lot of really, really cool suggestions. Hey, try this out, and then it ends up being cool or ends up being strong, and that's really great to see. Eventually I would have tried out Crusade anyways, just because I have to, like, before I make a guide or anything like that. But this definitely, like, already had my mind spinning and mind thinking about it and stuff like that. And I kind of, like, once I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, it probably actually is stronger, because, like, even with nothing else, because it's possible if the stats are the same that it's still a little bit stronger than Might, especially in Season 1. However, once I saw the disparity between my haste and my crit, I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to be stronger. It just kind of makes sense to have that be the case. So yeah, overall, this is pretty cool. Keep the suggestions coming is also what I'd say. If you've tried something you really liked, I can try it out as well and give maybe my informed opinion, I guess you could say. Not that I'm better than anybody else, but I do, take this very seriously and stuff. And I try to always give accurate information. I will say that if I'm telling you something, it's because I've tried it enough to feel feel positive about what I'm saying, right? I'm never just going to say, hey, do this just because I like it. That'll just never be the case. So that'll be it for this one. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber to the channel, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. And other than that, everybody have a good one.